We are back at it. I'm Carson Cunningham, joined as always by Colby Powell. Colby, I hope everyone can see us and hear us because this has been a real challenge. Colby and I, we um we did go live and we tested everything. And so this
We
is not going to look as
are
good. Back at it,
Oh man,
but we're trying.
this might as well be a Friday night game, Carson, for what we've got going on out here.
Might as well be. This is not how I wanted things to look or sound, but hopefully, can everyone hear us and see us?
It seems like we are live now. So again, like I told everybody earlier, the concepts are fine. We just have to get better at what we do. The concepts are fine.
Yes, they are fine. This is going to inhibit all the things I had planned for this show. Although maybe it won't, because can everyone see us and hear us? Yes, they say yes. Let's see if this works. We're just going to test this on the fly here. Can you see or hear any of this? That would be probably a no based on your reaction.
No, I'm laughing at the hilarity of the way this is all going. I mean, at this point, we just kind of have to laugh at ourselves. We got on at 9 o'clock this morning. We tested this for like a half hour, had my daughter in here. We were recording. Everything was great. And then as soon as we get back on to go live, it all goes haywire. So I'm laughing at the hilarity that has ensued.
Yeah.
And, the stressful looks that you've had on your face for the past half hour in the Zoom trying to get this to go live.
Yeah, this quality does not look great, but hey, we're on, we're live, and we appreciate everyone hanging around with us this long. Lot to get into, but first, let's hear from Chris's University Spirit, your one-stop cowboy shop. Be sure to shop at chrisuniversityspirit.com, and right now they have all day, every day, free standard shipping on orders over $75. So be sure to shop online, get the latest, greatest OSU apparel. That's really all we have going for us right now is to look good. They don't play good, but
we don't feel good.
We don't feel good. There's not many good vibes to go around if you're in Stillwater, unless you walk into Chris's University Spirit. I think that's ultimately the best place to go right now. They can hook you up with the latest, greatest OSU apparel, get your tailgate scene looking as sharp as it possibly can be. There'll be plenty of empty seats probably in those tailgate seats, but we appreciate Chris's being with us every step of the way. I'm really disappointed you can't see all of those things I just showed you there. But anyway, I digress.
Well,
Colby.
We can see you.
Okay, well, I guess that's most important. Let's get into it. We got a lot of people in the comments. We're going to answer as many questions as we can. But first, Colby, let's just get into the game itself. I mean, what else can you say? Oklahoma State, this was not a fluke. Tulsa walked into Boone Pickens Stadium. They outcoached Oklahoma State. They outplayed Oklahoma State. They out-physicaled Oklahoma State. They came in there and bullied OSU and talked their smack while doing it. I really have to respect Trey Lamb in post-game going full Suge Knight. You know, come to death row. Basically, we're tired of being on the third page of the newspaper, all those things. And we can talk all we want, Colby, about NIL and funding and Oregon's salary versus Oklahoma State's. The fact of the matter is Oklahoma State has a coaching problem, and it's been going on for 5 or 6 years now. Oklahoma State's out-schemed every single week. Their offense is completely inept and archaic. This is not an NIL problem. This is a Mike Gundy problem. And he's let this thing slip for 5 or 6 years now, which you and I have harped on this podcast for years and years. People call us negative Nancy's, call us Gundy haters. Well, now it's inarguable. Their yards per play has continued to slip ever since 2020, which coincided with that ridiculous rollover contract that OSU gave Mike Gundy. But first and foremost, OSU is a horribly coached football team. That's the number one issue in Stillwater.
Carson, the most troubling thing last night was, look, Tulsa's been bad for a while. They lost to Navy by 3 touchdowns last week. They lost to New Mexico State the week before. Tulsa is not going to go on to turn into some 10-win team. The most troubling part is that was not some sort of David versus Goliath upset. Like, if Tulsa beats Oklahoma State, it should be because everything went wrong for Oklahoma State. You missed field goals, you muffed a punt, everything goes wrong, and David beats Goliath. The most troubling part is that was just a couple of Davids cutting it up, and they just had one more rock to load in the slingshot than we did. And when you look at the product that was on that field last night, and then you have to listen to the head coach just tell you that everything's fine. And to the media's credit, he got asked some really hard questions last night. He got asked what he would say to a fan base who maybe doesn't think he should be the coach tomorrow morning. Whoever asked that question, kudos to you. Mike Gundy hasn't been asked questions like that in 11 years. Probably 2014 was the last time Mike Gundy was asked questions like that. Maybe the OAN scandal, but for on-the-field stuff, probably 2014. And he just tells us everything's fine. Young quarterback needs to grow up. Schemes were good. 8 to 10 plays. I'm sorry, coach. It didn't come down to 8 to 10 plays. You got physically dominated by Tulsa on your home field. You let Dominic Richardson come in and run all over your defense. Tulsa clearly, to me, tightened up later in that game. And so the level of domination that they displayed for 2.5 quarters kind of subsided a bit late in that game as Oklahoma State tried to make a push at the end. But Carson, Tulsa was the better team, even with the late push. Oklahoma State got outgained in that game. And from the first 2 possessions, we go down, kick a field goal, they go down, score a touchdown. From the moment those first 2 possessions happened, at no point did it look like Oklahoma State was the better team. At no point did it look like Oklahoma State had the better quarterback. At no point did it look like Oklahoma State had more creativity on offense, was running plays to deceive the defense. Tulsa picks up 3 fourth downs like in their first 3 series, and they do it in 3 different ways. One with a quarterback rolling right, one with Dominic Richardson coming out of like this old school wing T triple option kind of formation, and one with a quick swing out to the left. And what's Oklahoma State do on 4th in the game in the 4th quarter at the 5-yard line? They just turn and hand it up the middle. Zane walks into the end zone if he keeps that, by the way. It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was David versus David. They had more rocks in the slingshot. We're not as good as Tulsa. That was not a fluke. It was not a fluke. We are not as good as Tulsa.
No, not as good as Tulsa, which that's a pretty sobering reality considering the fact that they have 9 more games against teams that are all better than Tulsa. And look, I don't want to come on here and like just rip Mike Gundy to shreds for his program falling below him. I don't take any joy in this. And in fact, I tweeted during the game that this was just sad. It was a sad thing to happen. I think our stream's frozen, by the way. Can you hear me and see me?
I can still hear you. Hopefully the people on YouTube can still hear us. My video's frozen, but hopefully they can still hear us.
Yeah, hopefully so. This has just not gone the way we had tested it out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the video. Hopefully they can hear us, even if the video's frozen. Okay, they can still hear us. They can still hear us. Audio's good, so we'll just keep rolling and hope that the video catches up.
Okay. And look, I take no joy in what's going on with this football program, but you hit on it, and I guess I have my rundown here on not a fluke, Tulsa dominates. Like, OSU was getting beat with players who used to be on the team. That's the most damning thing. You got Braylon Presley, you got Dominic Richardson. I mean, that's even more embarrassing, first off. But the fact that Mike Gundy continues to, and I'm going to wait till this stream gets back on here until I really get into this. I don't know what's going on here. But the continuance of his excuses in the postgame, to me, were just inexcusable. I mean, just the fact that he continues to just gaslight everyone is just remarkable. And I can't see anything. This is terrible. Let me go to my stats here.
I can hear you. It's kind of, he's missing the big picture, right? Like you listened to him after the game last night. He keeps talking about 8 to 10 plays and a young quarterback has to grow up. Somebody, I've lost it because we're getting so many comments. Thank you for everyone who's here and watching with us. But somebody's talking about the fact, if his bread and butter, here it is, no name yet is his YouTube name, perfect. If his bread and butter is to recruit and develop, I understand Flores is young in experience. This is year 3 in the program. I understand you have a new offensive coordinator. The schemes are the same. This is year 3 in the program. If the bread and butter is to recruit and develop, the guys, I mean, he's on his 3rd year here, and Again, the 8 to 10 play stuff, Coach. We're talking about a loss to Tulsa at home, coming off a 69-3 loss to Oregon, which is on the heels of the disaster to end last season. It's been more than a calendar year since you've beaten an FBS team. You just got embarrassed on your home field. That was embarrassing. What happened last night? That was on a national stage on a Friday night. I mean, the announcers are sitting there trying to talk up Mike Gundy on the broadcast. You know, he's done this before. You look at what happened with South Alabama a couple of years ago, and I don't know. This feels very different than what happened with South Alabama. This feels different even than last year whenever you had a bunch of guys that you're like, oh, my gosh, can they put something together? And then they had a couple of competitive performances later in the season. This is just this is rock bottom. Somebody said it in the press conference as they asked Mike Gundy a question. This is rock bottom.
Yes, it is. It's going to be tough to do a show if this is not working. If people literally can't see us, we're just doing the audio version of the podcast.
I think they're happy to listen because they can still send us questions. Yeah, Tyler's saying audio only's fine. They're saying audio only's fine on the YouTube.
Oh, that's frustrating.
You're frustrated. So everyone, to pull back the curtain, Carson put a ton of work in this week to make this very professional, look good, and sound good, and everything be just right. We tested it this morning. It was all working great, and then it just went haywire as it was time to go live. So, yes, Carson is understandably frustrated, but yeah, everybody's telling us to keep going with just audio. We've got a couple hundred in here, so we'll have some good questions.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just do my thing, I guess. Yeah, like that's the number one thing I want to hit on this show is the fact that Mike Gundy he went right back to his playbook from last year after getting embarrassed game after game after game. And he focuses, and I said this last year, and here we are again on September 20th, 2025. He continues to focus even on those tough questions. And again, you're right. A lot of good journalists in there asked the tough questions that needed to be asked. He continues to go back to the micro, as he said, quote, 8 or 10 plays. Mike, you scored 12 points against Tulsa. It is so much worse than 8 to 10 plays. And he continues to gaslight the entire fan base of Oklahoma State. Everyone who's watching and paying attention understands that this is so much worse than 8 to 10 plays. And he continues to just say, well, we got a game against Baylor next week. That's my job's to correct those 8 or 10 plays. This is an opportunity for Mike to really own it. And he just continues to essentially just dare Oklahoma State to fire him, because that's what's going on here. His ego will not allow him to stand up there and say, I've let this program fall below my standards. I've let it fall below all the people that were in the stadium. The stadium looked fantastic. It's fallen below their expectations, and I have failed. I am failing right now, if you don't want to put a bookend on it. I'm failing. Why can't he come out and say that? But no, it's, well, we just got to get better next week. Schemes were fine. Everything's fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm going to be the coach forever here. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, are you going to be the coach on Monday? Well, I mean, like I just explained, he kept saying, like I just explained, you know, we just got to correct those 8 or 10 plays. No, Mike, it's so far beyond that. And it's so far beyond the point of him returning next year as head coach. He knows that. Everyone watching the game knows that. And he continues to stand up there and just gaslight everyone. Because let's face facts. His ego won't allow him to do that and show humility. Now, does everyone see now what Chad Weiberg was dealing with last spring? It's that right there. It's the lack of accountability. It's the lack of humility to admit that he's failing. And it's the lack of being willing to make any changes on a week-to-week basis. This is coming off a bye week. And finally, people are seeing and understanding what's really going on here, and that Mike is too, whether you want to say it's his ego, whether you want to say he's just stubborn, it doesn't really matter at this point, because they are the worst Power 4 football program in the country. They've lost 11 straight. And he's making this situation worse by getting up there and saying the things he said.
Carson, it was a bye week for Oklahoma State. It was a short week for Tulsa. Tulsa played Navy last Saturday, a week ago today, and then came into Stillwater last night and did that. And it turns out all Dominic Richardson needed to fully unleash his potential and his talent was to play against Oklahoma State instead of for Oklahoma State. 8 to 10 plays, Carson. It's been 11 quarters. You've had your quarterback in there for 11 quarters, 3 of them against an FCS opponent, 4 of them against Tulsa. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass yet in 11 quarters. What are we talking about 8 to 10 plays? You don't have a passing game. Guy's in his 3rd year. Hoss goes down, and all of a sudden you're the worst team in the country? They are the worst team in the country. And John Kurtz, who you went on with a couple of weeks ago, as I'm reading the comments here, I look down, and the headline for John Kurtz in the show that he did last night, Tulsa humiliates Oklahoma State. It's over for Mike Gundy. That's his headline. And Mike just continues to say, well, we got to get back to work. My job is to assess what happened. Coach, you're being asked a direct question about the state of the program. You're not being asked whether a 4th down conversion early in the game helped Tulsa get some momentum. Nobody's asking about the micro. We watched the game. We saw how you lost to Tulsa. Okay? We've got it. We're asking about the big picture of this program, how it got to this point, and he is unwilling to even discuss the big picture, and that's what's driving me crazy. I don't even need a good answer. I just need him to acknowledge it. I just need him to acknowledge that we're going on a year now of the worst program in the country. He won't even acknowledge it, Carson. He just keeps circling back to the absolute most minute details and giving nobody anything. And I was sitting there last night and I was watching that game, and I watched the start of that broadcast. And the start of that broadcast was kind of like a highlight reel of the fun things that Mike Gundy has done at Oklahoma State in his career. You know, in the singlet with the Big Daddy mug, taking his shirt off at homecoming, playing the saxophone for the Jazz, whatever that was. And it just reminded me of how lovable Mike Gundy was at one point and how proud we all were to have Mike Gundy as our coach at one point. And now he can't even answer a basic question about the state of the program. Nobody wants to hear about 8 to 10 plays. What is happening with the state of the program? How did it get here? How do you plan to fix it? Should you still be the head coach? I mean, I could just keep going, Carson. I'll take a breath, but I'm just frustrated with the program being where it's at and the head coach being asked directly about it and being unwilling to even acknowledge it.
Yep. It's exactly what we saw last year. I mean, how many times last year did he get up there and just focus on the micro and not really address what's actually happening? It's unbelievable. Hey, are we back? I think we're back.
Are we? I don't know.
Can they see us?
I don't know. There's always a delay from whenever something happens on our end and then whenever
I think we're back. I think we're back at it. Well, maybe not. Yeah, there's the delay. I think we're kicking back on now. And see, I have enough humility to admit that this ship is sinking with me at the helm. That this recording has not gone well. It's not 8 to 10 plays on Zoom. It's the fact that everything's crumbling and I'm the one to blame. But we are back at it. Welcome back to the show. Hopefully this goes a little smoother from now on. But, okay, so where were we? Mike Gundy's continued just gaslighting. Okay, so we've kind of beat around the bush here. The fact is, Mike Gundy's not going to be the head coach next year. You and I can both admit that, right?
It's obvious. It's the most obvious thing. And I almost think that it freed up the media a little bit last night because I think everybody knows it. I think Mike probably knows it too. I think it freed up the media to ask some questions that they haven't been able to ask. I mean, looking Mike Gundy in the eye and saying, hey, there's a lot of fans who think maybe you shouldn't be the coach tomorrow morning. What do you have to say? And then he just goes back to, well, my job is to prepare him for Baylor. But to even ask the question, like those are questions he hasn't been asked in a long time. And I think it is very much a case of, okay, we all know that the Gundy era is over. And I don't know who put this up earlier in the chat. There's like 1,000 comments in here. But somebody put it very succinctly. Like, Coach, it's been a great ride. Let's not go out like this. Announce the retirement, do whatever. Let's not go out. It's been a great ride, but it's time. It's so clearly time.
Yeah, I tweeted that. Like, this thing's going to get toxic. I mean, you had the student section chanting "Fire Gundy." Like, that's the level we're at now. Everyone's tired of seeing this, and that's the level we're at currently. And I'll get into next, kind of what I've, been hearing that's going on behind the scenes since that game. But I want to answer some questions as well. But I tweeted this during the game, because this thing's going to get so toxic, like I mentioned. It's time to announce the farewell tour, to change the tenor of what this stadium's going to look like and sound like the rest of the season with uncertainty. Now, if you watch Mike Gundy in the post game, what part of that gives you any belief that he's going to be willing to do that? To me, that entire tenor and tone and gaslighting sounded like, if you want to fire me, but I'm taking the full buyout. That did not sound like a man who's willing to admit that this is over and that he would take a lesser buyout and a forced retirement / swan song / we're going to give him a Bob Stoops administration type role and help pick the next coach. I didn't get that vibe at all coming from Mike. Now, maybe that's just his public persona and he's saying different things behind the scenes, but I doubt it.
Yeah, and somebody makes a good point in here in the comments, like the students who are chanting that stuff. The students, a lot of them probably weren't born in 2005. You got freshmen and sophomores out there who weren't born yet when Mike Gundy took over. They don't remember 2011. They probably don't remember much about the Rudolph era. Like we're kind of removed from a lot of that. And so you've got young people who are frustrated and upset and making their voices heard. And I get it. Look, if I was there, I certainly wouldn't have been chanting "Fire Gundy" at him as he walked off the field. Do I think he needs to go? Of course. But I don't know. For some reason, that's just not really my style. But I get it. Young people making their voices heard. No, he doesn't sound like he gets it is the problem, right? And that's kind of what you're saying about, I'll just get him ready for Baylor next week. I don't think he gets it. Or maybe he's just not willing to show that publicly. Maybe behind the scenes he does get it and he understands, like, okay, I'm cooked. Like, I've let the program fall to a point that is pretty untenable right now. But publicly, he doesn't seem like he gets it. He gets it. He just refuses to acknowledge the state of the program. Not what happened in the game, but the state of the program. And people are getting frustrated with it. So I do have some things from in-game last night that I wanted to point out. I don't know if you have more thoughts specifically on what he said post-game, because I do have some more thoughts on what happened on the field last night, if and when you want to get into some of that.
Yeah, I thought it was very illustrative of where Oklahoma State's offensive football prowess is current day. When you texted me after the first series saying they pulled the guard, and like threw an out route, like that was like groundbreaking stuff for OSU offense in 2025.
Yeah, they pulled the guard and the tackled on a Zane Flores keeper early in the game. Still, I mean, the 3rd and 13 draw, Carson. The 3rd and 13 draw was unbelievable. It was really a slap in the face to the people who made their way to Stillwater on a Friday night. And I wasn't one of them. I didn't make it up there yesterday. We watched the game from home. When that happened and the booze started raining down, my parents are in Japan right now, so my mom was wanting to get text updates throughout the game. And I think she regretted asking for text updates that were ruining a perfectly good day of vacation. I don't understand what the coaches are doing in some scenarios. Even sometimes there'd be like a 2nd and 17. You run up the middle for 4 yards. Okay, now we've set up a 3rd and 13 again. And meanwhile, you've got Tulsa on the other side. They ran a play, Carson, where they had trips left. They had Braylon Presley on the right. They motioned him across the formation, split him out wide left, and then the quarterback takes the snap. All 3 of those guys that are trips left, 2 of them are tight ends. They come out to the right side where the right tackle's kicked out to block the edge. They seal the inside. They give it to Braylon or Dom, whoever it was, and he takes it up the field. That was I think that was a 3rd and 3 in like the 3rd quarter, and I'm watching that concept, and I'm like, that's phenomenal. They take the guy in motion to take the linebacker with him, or the safety, whoever it was that ran across with him, and then they swing all those guys out as the tackle kicks out, and it's just a parting of the seas right there. It was an out-coaching. It was a coaching mismatch from a schematic standpoint, and that's another problem. I joked off the top, our concepts are fine. We just have to get better at what we do. The concepts clearly are not fine. What does that even mean? What are the concepts? There are no concepts. Zane's just dropping back into a collapsing pocket, throwing an occasional quick slant and go balls. Like, it's just, there is no concept. Tulsa outcoached Oklahoma State last night. And Gundy even acknowledged as much in his post-game presser. He was talking about Tulsa early in that game, and he was like, they were doing some good things offensively. Their motion was giving us a lot of trouble. Quarterback was putting it in good spots. They had guys moving around. So, yeah, we just weren't quite prepared for some of those wheel routes. And I'm like, Coach, do you not get it as you're saying it? As you're saying it, do you not get it that, yes, Tulsa was running some good concepts, stuff that you don't have in your system, stuff that we haven't seen from your system in years. And I don't know. I guess he doesn't, because he just keeps telling us the concepts are fine. They just have to keep getting better at them. And then they come out the next game, and the concepts are the same. It's all the same. So, yeah, I love the creativity from Tulsa on offense last night. I thought they did a lot of things to deceive the defense, get us looking one way, go the other way. I was impressed with what Tulsa did offensively, and really just embarrassed with how little Oklahoma State did and how much trouble we had adjusting to Tulsa early in that game.
Well, you remember when they hired Doug Meacham and Todd Grantham, and I got labeled Carson just hates everything OSU football. Anything Mike Gundy does, he's going to criticize. And I rightly pointed out the fact that Doug Meacham and Todd Grantham haven't called plays at this level or any level in 4 years. How behind are they on college football schematics? I mean, Meacham was in it. He wasn't calling plays, but he was in it. Todd Grantham was like the assistant D-line coach for the New Orleans Saints and wasn't going to have a job. And that just speaks to how we got to this point. Again, I did and I talked way more about this in depth, about all the problems with Oklahoma State on the John Kurtz show. Go check that out. But this is how we got here. I referenced it on Twitter last night. Since 2020, their yards per play on offense has trended down. And that's been the hallmark of Mike Gundy winning 10 games at least 7 times in his career, was high-powered, innovative, electric offenses that were cutting edge. And that has just deteriorated year by year by year. Keeping the stale coaching staff was certainly a contributor to that. And the lack of fresh ideas, which I've continued to say for 5, 6, 7 years. This is not a cutting edge offense anymore. And that's how Oklahoma State's going to win at football games. And Mike Gundy hiring his buddy, Doug Meacham, at offensive coordinator clearly was not the answer. And he was asked about this in postgame, and he's like, yes, those were the right calls to hire Todd Grantham and Doug Meacham, which I get. He's not going to come out there and say, nah, shouldn't have hired those guys. I get that from Mike's perspective. Yeah. But the fact is, this has all happened on Mike Gundy's watch, and the lack, and this is kind of where I'm at now. Mike Gundy has been making decisions for the betterment of Mike Gundy and his life, not the betterment of Oklahoma State football. Having to make tough calls and firing your best friends in Casey Dunn. Having to go outside your comfort zone and hiring coaches that are going to do their thing, that will bring something to your table, like a Dana Holgerson. And Todd Monken, while he was one of Mike Gundy's best friends, he had the personality to run his schemes, run his offense, and turn off Mike's microphone, essentially. Because you go back to 2012, when Todd Monken had 3 quarterbacks who were young and inexperienced and was lighting the world on fire with 3 different quarterbacks, had Clint Shelf looking like, Pat Mahomes at the end of the season. And now Zane Flores makes Milwaukee Smith look like Marcus Mariota. Another poor choice to keep Zane Flores on this roster and let, Garrett Rangel walk, much less Milwaukee Smith. So that's how we got here. It's a Mike Gundy problem in that he's done the comfortable thing for the betterment of himself, knowing he's a made man, knowing his contract rolls over every year. And it's been to the detriment of Oklahoma State football. And so I'm really curious to see if he's going to do what's best for Oklahoma State football moving forward. If we continue to hear what we heard in postgame against Tulsa, his hand might be forced here, because I am starting to hear things which we'll get into in our next topic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Mike Gundy's going to do at this point. I think it's all kind of on the table. I don't think any of us know how he's going to handle this situation. I still think, I have to think that there's some part of Mike Gundy who wants to be beloved by the Oklahoma State fan base for the rest of his life. And there has to be some part of Mike Gundy that understands what the fan base is feeling right now. And yes, when this is all over, we will be deeply appreciative for everything that Mike Gundy has given to this university, and we will remember the fun times. But right now, we're just kind of in it, and we've got to get out of it before we can start doing the remember how great everything was tour. Because right now, we're sitting around dreading watching this team take the field because we just know it's going to be a kick in the teeth. And that is so hard for a fan base to dread watching your team play. Oklahoma State has had seriously exciting teams throughout almost all of the Gundy era. And they haven't won a national championship. They didn't win enough Big 12 championships. But for 18 years, we were able to show up on Saturday and, these weeknight games, Thursday, Friday, whatever. We were able to show up and know that you were going to get an entertaining product from a well-coached football team that was going to have a chance to compete and win the game. We're not getting that anymore. I mean, the people who went to Boone Pickens Stadium last night, they just saw an absolute clunker, an absolute dud from that team. And Carson, I still can't get over 4th and 1 at the Tulsa 5-yard line and the give up the middle. Again, we're talking macro and I'm going back micro. I'm doing the Mike Gundy thing, but it's just – everything that we're experiencing as fans on game day, it's all building up and building up and building up. And now it's boiling over from when everybody got frustrated last year. And then we allowed ourselves to believe and have hope again in the offseason. And we got kicked in the teeth so fast to start this season that it's just everything from last year, I think, is now boiling over with the fan base. And the only guy who can make it better, who can fix it, who can make sure that things end in a good, peaceful way. The only guy who can do that is Mike Gundy, and I don't think any of us know how he's going to handle the next 3 months.
Try 3 days.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, let's just get into it. So, I was pretty taken aback by the reporting that Chad Weiberg might be let go along with Mike Gundy. That just flies in the face of everything I've ever heard about what Chad Weiberg does in Stillwater and the standing that he has. And so I felt pretty out of the loop on that. That took me by surprise. So I've reached out during the game and after to people that I trust and people that understand the situation. So what I'm hearing is Chad Weiberg's on firm footing now. Probably always was, because that's all I've ever heard.
Okay.
I have not heard that regardless of his contract, Chad Weiberg has the support of the people that matter in Stillwater. Very high-ranking people. You can probably fill in the blank on who that would be, who those main people would be. And let's rewind back to spring. Chad Weiberg was not comfortable letting Mike Gundy go after one losing season coming off a Big 12 championship. It's very easy now for fans on the Chamber, on Pistols Firing, PFB Plus, you should subscribe. It's very easy for people on Twitter to say, well, Chad should have fired Mike Gundy. This is his fault.
Yep.
It's very easy to be a keyboard warrior and say that. Do people have quickly forgotten what was the tenor publicly when that showdown was happening with the Board of Regents meeting with Mike Gundy firing the coaches 2 days before as a last-ditch attempt to save his job? The tenor was, what are the people at OSU doing? They can't fire Mike Gundy. And that goes with fans, that goes with media. That was the main tenor around that entire topic, was it not?
Yeah, there were a lot of people. There were some people who were, already aboard the Fire Gundy train. I think that was a smaller segment. There were a lot of people upset with the way it became this public, almost like a hostage contract situation where ESPN has it on their main screen and stuff. I think a lot of people were very frustrated with the Board of Regents and didn't feel like Mike Gundy deserved the disrespect that the national embarrassment had turned into that day. And were pretty upset with the way that all was handled because, to the same sentiment that you and I expressed for much of the offseason, he earned the right to try to fix it. Now, the moves he made failed. The team is a failure. His attempt to fix it has failed. So now, yes, I think we're all kind of on board. The era's over. Let's move on. But I don't know. There were some people saying that last year. I wasn't saying that. And I think that that's a little bit of revisionist history. He deserved the right to try to fix it this year. Now that it hasn't worked, I'm fully on board. We need a new era.
Well, and Chad's a smart guy. Chad knew then this was coming. And he wanted things to be way more black and white. There was some gray there because they did go to the Big 12 championship the year before when all those showdown talks were happening. And so his goal last spring was to do exactly what happened, force real changes within the program on the coaching staff, reduce the buyout. He wanted it much lower than it is. That's a credit to Mike's attorneys and lawyers. And he wanted a reset of all those things he got, and he wanted things to be more black and white. Well, they could not be more black and white as it stands today, losing home field after getting embarrassed by Oregon, scoring 12 points. It's a very simple decision at this point. And that's what he kind of knew was going to happen, and to where he had to have far more support to make a change at the head coaching level. And so Chad's support goes even beyond Oklahoma State in terms of what's going to happen next. Chad is not going anywhere. Chad Weiberg is the athletic director. He will be the athletic director, and he's the one who's going to make this decision. And so that's what's going on. And what's going to happen is it's going to be as far as what Oklahoma State is going to ensure happens, is a forced retirement and a reduced buyout. That's best for all parties. Mike Gundy knows it, and it's incumbent upon him to follow through with that on his end. How soon that happens, I don't know, but that's what's going to happen. And the ball is going to be in Mike Gundy's court on how this plays out, and it's going to affect his legacy. And I think that's the leverage that Oklahoma State has. Is, Mike, do you want to go out like we saw in the post game against Tulsa with your head in the sand, or what they had written in his contract was he helps get to pick the successor? That was part of the language that was written into his contract. Is he going to take that and run with it and go out the right way? Or is he going to go out kicking and screaming, so to speak, and pretending everything's fine and forcing them to fire him? We'll see. But that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a forced retirement, reduced buyout, and you turn the page to the next head coach.
Look, I think retirement would be the way to go. I hate the idea, and again, it might be up to him, but I hate the idea of Mike Gundy being fired midseason. Like that and the reality is there are no great answers at this point. Mike Gundy has been the head coach of Oklahoma State since I was 11 years old. It's all I've ever really known, and it's been a lot of fun to be an Oklahoma State fan. It's been heartbreaking at times, and it always will be. That's part of what brings Oklahoma State fans together. But there have been a lot of good times, and I brought up the Robert Kraft-Bill Belichick relationship last year and how toxic things are between the greatest head coach ever and the organization that he did that with. The fact that they can't even seem to coexist. And I don't want that to be the case with Mike Gundy, but you're right in pointing out that it might be up to him. And if he's okay with his legacy being torched so that he can be stubborn and just, ride this thing out and force their hand and do whatever he wants to do, he can do those things. I hope that he doesn't. At some point, there's got to be a come to Jesus meeting and a realization by Mike Gundy that, dude, this is ending. How do you want it to end? That's the question right now for Mike Gundy. How do you want this to end? And we're not talking about on the field. We see how it's ending on the field. You just got beat down by Tulsa on your home field. One Large Scoop asked, what does OSU really expect to be? Is there enough money around for the program to ever compete in the NIL area? You expect to not get your teeth kicked in on your home field by Tulsa. Imagine if Texas lost to North Texas. Imagine if UTSA went into Austin and beat them down. We'd be laughing at them like they're laughing at us. That's the expectation. You don't have to be Georgia. You don't have to be Alabama. You don't have to be Oregon or Ohio State. You don't even have to be Oklahoma. But you had damn sure better be better than Tulsa every year without exception. What were we talking about? I saw that question. I lost my mind.
I was just going to let you go.
I'm not yelling at you, One Large Scoop. I understand the question. I really do. Can we compete in the NIL era? I'm not yelling at you. I'm just frustrated. Whatever the expectation, whatever you think the expectation should be, it has to be better than what we watched last night. It has to be better than 69-3 in Eugene. It has to be better than 52-0 in Boulder. And it has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I mean, this is very straightforward and really simple. If Nick Saban was losing on his home field to Alabama State or whomever the Tulsa comparison within the state of Alabama would be, he'd be fired today. He'd be gone. Like, it would be over. And that's where we are. They're the worst Power 4 team in the country. Like, it's gone to the point, Colby, where there's one direction to go, and that's up. There's no direction down further to go. That's where we're at. They've lost 11 straight FBS games. Let that sink in. They are going to go 0-9 in Big 12 play for back-to-back seasons. Like you mentioned it earlier, for the people like Colby, you weren't around in the 90s. My first season of going to OSU football was the 0-10 season under Pat Jones. This is what the end of the Pat Jones era looked like. It looked just like this. If not, this might look a little worse. It's basically the same thing when you're going 0-9 in Big 12 play. This is the end of the Pat Jones era, which is ironic considering that's his mentor. Pat Jones is Mike Gundy's mentor. So we need to get to some questions here soon, but go ahead.
Quick thought on that front. 0-10-1, right? That rings out. You say 0-10-1. People in the Oklahoma State fan base who've been around, they know what you mean when you say 0-10-1. If this turns into 1-11 and your only wins against an FCS opponent, I mean, does that replace 0-10-1?
Yeah, and people make a good point here. I mean, Bill Bean says Pat was on probation. Now, Pat was the reason they were on probation, so it doesn't exactly give him an out. But yeah, I mean, I think that paints a better picture in terms of what you're putting on the field was a roster that was on recruiting probation versus and scholarship probation versus Mike Gundy's got a full allotment here. So yeah, I mean, it to me it's sad it's ending this way, but very rarely in coaching do you get the storybook ending. TCU fired Gary Patterson when he was 3-5 in Big 12 play, and he already had a statue out front. Like it's not beneath Oklahoma State to fire Mike Gundy or to send him his walking papers, whatever terminology you want to put on it. And by the way, Colby, TCU went to the national championship game in the playoff era. They won a playoff semifinal to get to the national championship game the next year. Now I'm not sitting here saying that's going to happen for Oklahoma State. But that direction and trajectory changed in a whole big way by letting Gary Patterson, your all-time winningest coach, go. So for the people saying, well, to everything you just hit on, that's how quickly things can change when you make a change at the top.
Yeah, and obviously we don't think that Oklahoma State's going to let Mike Gundy go and bring in a new head coach and be playing for a national championship last year. I would also like to point out that's the year TCU in the semi beat the cheating Michigan team by giving them the wrong signals, changing their signals because they knew Michigan was going to be cheating. So that win will live forever in infamy for TCU. But yeah, it's just we don't expect that quick of a turnaround, but we're all just kind of we're there. And I've never. There have been people, Carson, in my life who have defended Mike Gundy through and through. And to the man, I have gotten texts from all of them. It's time. All of them. I don't have anybody left in my life that I'm speaking with personally who is saying, you know what? I still think he can right the ship. Let's see how it plays out. Maybe another year. Get the concepts ironed out, get better at what we do. Nobody's at that point right now. Everybody is everybody's done. Everybody's exhausted. Everybody's ready for whatever is on the other side of the Mike Gundy era.
Yeah, who at this point wants Mike Gundy to still be the head coach besides Mike Gundy and his family? I can't think of one. I mean, how could you? I mean, and that's where I think his tone and his answers in the press conference are doing him no favors. Like, he is not catering public favor right now with how he handles things publicly. And I said this on every post-game pod we did last year. It's the same song and dance again. And that's where I think he's tarnishing his legacy as the head coach of Oklahoma State by just not calling a spade, by gaslighting everyone, saying it's just 8 or 10 plays. That to me is wrong. So let's get to some questions here, shall we?
Yeah, I did just want to point out. So Oklahoma State won its last game against an FBS opponent against Tulsa, September 14th. of last year, September 21st of last year. So almost exactly a calendar year is when they lost to Utah at home, and that started all of this. So Carson, the jarring thing for me as an Oklahoma State fan is that this has all happened. All of this, the way we all feel right now, has happened in one calendar year. That's it. I mean, it's not like it took us 5 years to get to this place. One calendar year has gotten everyone to the same place, which is past the Mike Gundy era. And that's just, it would have been unfathomable to present someone with this scenario a year ago. Would have been unfathomable.
Yep, it really would. Before we get to Twitter questions, let's hear from our friends at Brewster Consulting, which I'm really bummed you can't see that ad. Hey, they're in the corner there for people watching on the stream. I'm really bummed I couldn't play all my elements that I've worked so hard on, but we do appreciate Brewster Consulting Group sponsoring the podcast. Does this sound like your company? Are your processes manual and inefficient with no documentation? Does your data reporting take forever and not accurate? You hear about all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for your business, or your projects always run over time and are over budget? If so, talk with our friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help organizations like that. They help them run with clear processes, reliable data, and reporting and technology that actually works for you. Their team of 6 Sigma Black Belts, PMP certified project managers, and seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, they're founded and ran by a proud OSU alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at brewsterconsulting.com and learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them as Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube. So with that said, thank you to Brewster. Who are we going to consult in the YouTube comments here? I haven't been monitoring, and I see we've got a lot of them. I appreciate everyone watching and commenting with us.
Yeah, so here's an interesting one from Garrett Griggs. Asks, is there a world where Gundy is fired before the end of the season? Would an interim head coach, Meacham or Grantham, change anything? I think there is a possibility he goes before the end of the season. I would, if you're asking me, putting my feet to the fire, does he coach out the season? I think he does. I think he coaches out the season, but it's absolutely possible that they could let him go mid-season. But I think maybe we talked about this. I don't know if it was on air or off air. I don't know that Oklahoma State just has like this great interim waiting in the wings. I mean, you could let Meacham or Grantham give it a shot and see how it goes, but I don't know that that's going to provide any real big changes unless there was a direct correlation, like the week that the interim HC took over, Hoss Haney came back and started playing some more. Unless those two things coincided at the same time, I don't know that that an interim is going to change much right now.
I mean, if the things are true about Mike Gundy not being that involved at practice, not being that engaged with the players, this might surprise you. I kind of think it would give them a jolt if Meacham got to be the one doing everything at practice and in guys' faces and being the interim coach, or Grantham for that matter. They see what's going on here. They see a disengaged coach at practice that's really not all that into it. And they see a coach deciding to punt with real games on the line, like the message that sends. I don't see how it could hurt at this point. They're so poorly coached and motivated coming off a bye week against Tulsa that I don't see how the significance of Mike Gundy no longer being the head coach at practice. Who knows? I don't think it could hurt at this point.
And Carson, there are some upset fans in the comments right now. Matt Hudson, it can't get worse, and firing him is a statement. You don't get a retirement tour when you burn what you built. Michael Gums asks why you don't let him go midseason. TCU let Patterson go. It's business. Forget this whole coronation BS. John Rogers says, at what point do they let go of the niceties? At what point does it get so bad that he loses the field name and statue and we just part ways? I don't have exact concrete answers to what are fair questions from upset fans who are watching their program burn in front of their eyes. So, I don't know how you feel about that, Carson. I still struggle. I'm really caught in between. Okay, Mike Gundy's burning it down. He doesn't deserve he doesn't deserve to go out the way he wanted. I struggle with that and the aspect from what message are you putting forth as a university to future coaches and just the history of your program, things of that nature. Like I do think it matters for the history of the program, and I think it would be a good thing for the program and Mike Gundy to be on good footing moving forward. But like we talked about earlier, that may not be up to the program. That may be up to Mike Gundy, and boy, we really don't know what version of Mike Gundy we're going to get over the next couple of months. A couple of days, like you said, or a couple of months, whatever. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just the ball's in his court.
Yeah, and again, based on the showdown talks that, like, let me just reshape everyone's minds back to the spring. Do you think Chad Weiberg wanted to go to the Board of Regents to have to hold Mike Gundy's feet to the fire? Like, do you think he ever wanted it to get to that point? The answer is no. But Mike Gundy forced his hand. He called Chad's bluff, is what Mike Gundy thought. And so Chad said, "Okay, I guess I'm going to have to go to the Board of Regents meeting and get the approval to exert the leverage I now have on Mike Gundy to get him to just fire some coaches." It took that. It took getting that to get, and the only reason that became public was because of Mike Gundy. Remember that? ESPN catches wind of it. Pete Thamel. How do you think Pete Thamel, sitting over there in Bristol, caught wind of a Board of Regents meeting in Stillwater, Oklahoma, in Payne County? It was Mike Gundy. None of this would have been public. Like that's the level that Chad had to go to then, and I kind of think that's the level he's going to have to go to now, based on things I heard in post game, because Mike didn't fire his assistants after the Colorado game when every coach in their right mind would have, did he? It took all the way until that following, what was it, the Wednesday before the Friday Board of Regents meeting, did we finally get word that Casey Dunn and the coordinators were fired. So that's what Chad Weiberg's been dealing with, and that's who he's dealing with in terms of being told what to do. And so, yeah, like, I don't know if they can just fire him and pay the buyout today, but I think they would like to renegotiate the buyout and do a resignation, so to speak, or a "this is my last year" announcement, something to stem the tide here, because it's going to get more toxic. You thought the fire Gundy chants were bad against Tulsa. Wait till next home game and they're punting. It's going to get bad.
Yeah, and question here from Bilal: would we be more bought in to see Gundy announce his retirement and finish the season, or watch Meacham Grantham finish it out? He says, "I'd rather see a position coach that'll be here for the next coach." And then we've gotten some other questions about, if somebody is the interim, is that somebody that might be a holdover for the next coaching administration, if you will? Carson, I don't know. I would imagine if a new head coach comes in, I would imagine that head coach is hiring his full staff top to bottom. I don't know. Maybe Rob Glass is the exception because he's been such a staple at Oklahoma State. But the way Oklahoma State's athletes have gotten pushed around the last couple of years, I don't know. I would guess that with maybe Rob Glass is the exception, I would think a new head coach would fully bring in his own staff of people that he trusts to run the things that he thinks are going to make his program successful.
For a second there, I thought you were suggesting Rob Glass be the interim head coach.
That would be hilarious. They'd be what's the Syracuse guy? Frank. They'd be out there running sprints after the game.
That'd be something. That was a funny thought I had in my head. No name yet. 44 asked if I heard any Arbuckle talk. No, the only talk that's going on right now is Zach Robinson. And again, I feel like every time Zach's name comes up, I have to preface it with, believe me, when I hear, I want Brandon Whedon to call plays, I want Brandon Whedon to be the offensive coordinator, like, I rolled my eyes then. I rolled my eyes when I first heard Zach Robinson talk. But there's mutual interest there, which I reported all the way back in the spring. And the most exciting thing about Zach is he has a real plan. He has a real plan for his NIL budget, his NIL recruiting, his revenue sharing. He wouldn't be going into this blind and not understanding the situation that's going on in terms of NIL and college football. And so that side, he's very connected too. He knows the right phone numbers to call. Chad Weiberg, and him know the right numbers to call. And he may have already done that. I don't know. I can't say that. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but I have heard that there's been connections already made there. And Zach doesn't want to be seen as pushing out Mike, and I think that kind of would have been some of the viewpoints publicly last spring. It ain't now. Mike's done that himself with how far this football program's dropped. So Zach will be the number 1 target. He'll be the number 2 target. He'll be the number 3 target. There's a lot of things to navigate with his current job in the NFL, but that's who's going to be the next coach if Zach wants it. And I think OSU wants that. I think Zach has mutual interest there for a lot of personal reasons, as well as the salary reasons, which we've gone over a million times here. So I have not heard Ben Arbuckle, because he's much further down the list than Zach Robinson.
Yeah, he'd be much further down the list. And I mean, it'd be a good job for Ben Arbuckle, young guy, 30 years old, going from where he was at Wazoo to OU to the head coach at Oklahoma State. That'd be a big rise for Ben Arbuckle, but I would guess that that's further down the list for Oklahoma State. Zach Owens in the comments right now says, Gundy keeping quiet and pretending the house isn't on fire is insulting. Yeah, it is. And again, loved the questions he got last night. Didn't like any of the answers. Carson, there was a time when even Mike Gundy's press conferences, and obviously, look, when you're winning, things are different. Everybody gets to have fun when you're winning. Winning fixes everything, makes everybody feel good. Everybody gets to be happy and have fun. But there was a time when, as Oklahoma State fans, we would watch the press conferences just for Mike Gundy, just to hear some Gundyisms, just to see him up there talking about the state of the program. You know, he's got the dog in the room. Everything's so much fun. And now he's, I don't want to say he's lying to us. He's just dodging the questions over and over again. We all saw it. We watched what happened last night. And part of probably why I got so frustrated is because I watched his press conference right before we went live. I mean, I finished the press conference, right before we went live. Right before we tried to go live the first time. It was right when I finished the press conference. So it was all fresh. And it just, it drives me kind of crazy to watch him talk the way he talked last night after that game. And I mean, I don't know this next week against Baylor. I don't think there's a line out on that game yet, but I would think depending on what happens for Baylor today against Arizona State, I mean, they're going to have to be a 3-touchdown road favorite against Oklahoma State, right? I mean, Vegas isn't just going to keep giving money away. Oklahoma State can't cover a spread to save its life.
Yeah, I think did you bring up the stat last week or last show? They were like 3-14 against the spread in their last 17, I think is the stat I heard. They're not just getting beat. They're just they're falling so far below even Vegas's expectation of them. And we all know Vegas hasn't had a high opinion of Oklahoma State for a very long time.
Yeah, and the line this week for the Tulsa game moved 3 points midweek. It went from 13.5 to 10.5, and it was still just an absolute smash right there. So people in the comments are hilarious. They're having a good time. My OU friends are like, I feel you, man. We only won 6 games last year. No, you didn't. Stop. It's nothing close to this is the comment. Yeah, it's obviously nothing close to this. This is rock bottom, Carson, in every way. And I don't know. Where else do you want to go with this? Do you have any more YouTube questions to pull up?
I mean, Denver Brayton says Gundy has lost the fire. His attitude makes people think he doesn't care. I think he does. But show me some passion and fight. Show me you're trying to win, not playing not to lose. And I take way more stock in his playing not to lose, his punting as if he has Alabama circa 2009 defense at his disposal. I put far more stock in that than him just standing over there behind the play with his arms folded. I mean, hell, he's done that for 21 years. That's nothing new. When they were winning in 2011, he was stoic. When he won the 2023 Bedlam game, his arms were folded, and he looked like he had just concluded practice on a Tuesday after beating Oklahoma. So I don't put much stock in his fiery presence on the field. I do put stock in how he coaches the game, and that has left a lot to be desired for a very long time in terms of aggression, going into Bedlam mode, as I call it, where you tuck your tail and you don't even attempt to win the game. That was the root of my tweet that drew the ire of Gavin Gundy. It's been a slap to Oklahoma fans. It's been a slap in the face to his players for a very long time. Hell, go back to 2016. Bedlam. in Norman. Barry, no! Don't return the kick to midfield. No, I want to kneel it. And they had time to go set up a field goal. And what do? They took a knee in a close game on Bedlam. It's unbelievable.
So I've got a good one here in the YouTube. Brandon Long. This is a good question, Brandon. He asks, will last season and this season cause irreparable harm to our program? Carson, I would say the harm won't be irreparable, but I mean, I don't think anybody can give you a timeline on how long the repair might take. How do you feel about that question? Irreparable harm last season and this season to the program?
I mean, define irreparable for me. I mean, like that Oklahoma State just is going to be stuck in a quagmire forever after Mike Gundy?
Yeah, let me phrase it this way. Do we turn into Kansas post Mangino, or are we like TCU or Baylor post Patterson, post Bryles? I know Bryles, there were reasons that ended that we've been over a million times on this pod, but do we turn into a team that still has really competitive years over the next decade where maybe you can win the conference, or do we turn into Kansas post Mangino for a decade?
No, I mean, I don't think there's any way Oklahoma State falls into post Mangino. That to me seems alarmist because Colby, did you see the stands for the game?
Yeah, they were showing them on TV and seemed decent early from the shots I could see. I was parenting and watching, so I didn't see a ton of the crowd shots. It looked okay from what I saw.
It looked pretty solid for a team that went 3-9 last year and was not competitive against Oregon and all of those things. I mean, that shows you the level of commitment that Oklahoma State has when it comes to football. Did I lose you?
You still got me. We're video's off again, but audio's still going. So Zach with a good one here. Okay. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it burned in a week. That's what it feels like right now with Oklahoma State football. Like it took a long time to build this, and it just took much less time to tear it down. It's a lot easier to tear something down than it is to build it. So, yeah, I understand the frustration for Oklahoma State fans, and looks like we're back now. So good job. Whatever you're doing behind the scenes, Carson, to get the gremlins out of the system every time they pop in. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm trying my hardest, as Tommy Fleetwood's younger son would say. Try my hardest. Let's see here.
We'll go back after today's show. We'll watch the film, see what we can correct.
We'll correct those 8 or 10 plays.
Aside from the 8 to 10 plays, Carson, I think we have nailed it today.
Those 8 to 10 settings, they'll get you. What was I even doing here?
You're good. I want to shout out our good friends at Wolf Corporation. Cowboy fans, if you're looking to sell or lease your commercial property, turn to Wolf Corporation, Oklahoma's trusted commercial real estate listing brokerage since 2010. Their experienced team specializes in showcasing your retail, office, or industrial space to the right buyers and tenants across the state. Based right here in Oklahoma, they deliver results with local expertise. Visit them today at wolfcorporation.com. That's WULF corporation.com or call 405-308-3480 today. Thank you once again to all of our great sponsors. Got the banner going across the bottom for Chris's, Brewster and Wolf. Got them in the bottom corner. Looking sharp. So much love.
Well, it's non-conference. Hopefully by conference play, we've got all the bugs worked out here with all the things we got going. I mean, we're live on Zoom, we're live on YouTube, and we're live using my streaming software here. So hopefully things improve, though. This has been a bit of a rough one, technologically wise. Any more questions we got here? Oh, I got the questions over here. Let's see here.
I've got a decent one that just got not a question so much as a thought, but in our card says, modern college football allows us to be better sooner than normal, especially if you have a coach that is aggressive with the portal, with NIL, and understands young players. I do think, we've kind of rued the changes in college football because they've been obviously bad for Oklahoma State and in the now. But whenever you talk about a new coach coming in and trying to go from bad to good quickly, you could make an argument that the current landscape does make that a little bit easier than maybe it would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah, totally. And so, yeah, that's where we were. Like, the notion that Oklahoma State is just going to fall off a cliff and become Mangino-less Kansas, I don't buy for a lot of reasons. Number one, the program's been built to a point like Kansas still was playing in a high school stadium. Like they were still playing in a stadium that Tulsa Union would be ashamed of. First off, let alone fan support that's been built over 20, 25 years. You saw that's why I brought up the crowd, like the fan support's there. And that goes beyond just butts and seats. That goes with like just dollars and cents. Like, what is it going to look like when you have a coach that views fundraising and NIL as part of his job? Mike Gundy did not until this year. He said that publicly. He thought NIL would go away. He hasn't been involved with it. They're so far behind for that reason. But you get a coach that has a real plan, like a Zach Robinson, who has a plan and it has a dollar figure amount that he wants for NIL and revenue sharing, and that he will likely get based on his role. It's going to be incumbent on a Zach Robinson to raise those funds. Chad Weiberg can't raise what it's going to take that a Zach Robinson would want. And he's going to get it. Like, he's going to go out there and get it. He's going to get the funding that he needs because he's going to go do it. Do you think Mike Gundy, if he had sat down with, an 8-figure type donor and said, hey man, like whatever you need, I'm here for you. Here's what I need to make OSU successful. Here's my plan. Really sat down with him and went over the dollars and figures and where it's going to be allocated. All of the, like, did a full-on sales job for how he's going to extract and use those dollars. Do you think he would have got those dollars, Colby, coming off the Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, that stuff matters. That stuff really matters if your head coach is willing to do.
The answer is yes.
Yes, it matters. Yes, it matters. It's the above and beyond stuff, Carson. That's what we're talking about. It's not just showing up to the office and reviewing film and trying to get better at your concepts. It's the above and beyond stuff that put all the pieces together to be competitive in this modern landscape of college football. And it feels like Mike Gundy has pushed all of the above and beyond stuff to the side.
And forget Zach Robinson for a second. Trey Lamb from Tulsa. Do you think you put that guy in a room with a guy who's willing to open up his checkbook and wants Oklahoma State football to succeed? Because as I've continued to say, if you made $20,000 a year or if you made $20 million a year, you're an OSU alum and you're an OSU fan and you want OSU to succeed by any means possible. And you're going to do what you can if you make 20 grand or 20 million to ensure that OSU succeeds because you care, because you're a fan and you went to school there and you have pride in the school. If it's Trey Lamb sitting in a room and has a plan for NIL and revenue sharing and what to do with it, and sits down with a $20 million a year earner donor, he's going to walk out of that meeting with some funding to go get some players and go get what it takes to win in this day and age in college football. Just look at Texas Tech. They've got their ducks in a row. They've got their funding. That's because their coach was committed to do so, along with all the inner workings at the school that OSU needs to be better aligned on, which we've gone over many times on this show. But to act like OSU is just going to become Kansas post Mangino is nonsense, in my opinion. It's complete nonsense based on all of those reasons, because they will have total alignment. They haven't had alignment with their head coach and the administration in a very long time. They were somewhat aligned coming off the Fiesta Bowl. They gave him the big contract and all those things, but things dramatically changed right then and there. That's when NIL came into play.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oklahoma State is not poor, I think, is a great way to just sum that all up. Oklahoma State's not poor. Oklahoma State has money. And I think that if you're Oklahoma State and you're a fan, we can all accept that we're not going to be at the absolute top of the food chain in money that we're going to be able to spend on the football team and on the program. But you don't have to be. Even if you are somewhere in the 5 to 10 range in the Big 12 in terms of what you're spending on your roster, which is totally reasonable. Oklahoma State has more money than a bunch of these other schools in the Big 12 conference. Oklahoma State has more money than Iowa State. They've got more money than West Virginia, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, all these places. Oklahoma State has more money than those places, and that can be put toward football. That's all you need. You just need to be, upper third of the conference in money. And I think Oklahoma State can be that and could perennially be a contender in this conference if, like you said, you have alignment, you have everything coming together, you have the head coach who's doing all of the above and beyond things. And I like that you brought up Trey Lamb. Carson, I was, and some people were saying, Trey Lamb, hey, why not him? I probably not qualified just yet to be the head coach at Oklahoma State, but I was really impressed with him last night. I was impressed with how aggressive he was on those fourth downs. I was impressed that on those fourth downs, they didn't just line up in a base formation and turn around and give it to the running back and hope they would get some push off the ball. They were doing things to deceive the defense and pick up those yards.
Aggression, playing to win, doing what it takes to win a game as an underdog. What a novel concept.
And Carson, did you hear him on the broadcast after the first quarter? Maybe it was Molly McGrath. I'm not sure. Did you hear his interview after the first quarter?
Yeah, the one in the post game sticks in my mind. Remind me what he said. I did listen.
So after the first quarter, he was just asked, hey, pretty good first quarter there. Y'all are moving the ball. What do you have to do to keep things going? And he said, yeah, look, we came here to win the game. Obviously, that's a great start. Long way to go. We feel pretty dominant right now, so we just have to get out, keep doing what we do, keep getting guys into space, being physical. And when he, after one quarter of football in Boone Pickens Stadium, stepped to the microphone and said the words, I'm paraphrasing, but he used the word dominant, something along the lines of, we feel pretty dominant right now. We were pretty dominant in that quarter. I'm like, Tulsa's coach, he knows. They're one quarter into this game, Carson, and he knows he's got the better team. He knows all he has to do is keep the train on the tracks, and they're going to come in here and win this thing. He used the word dominant after one quarter, and do you know why? Because they were dominant in that one quarter. He was aggressive. He was confident. He believed in his program. He was passionate about his kids, and none of it was hidden. It was all right there in your face for you to see how much Trey Lamb loved everything that he was doing last night. And I was really impressed by him as a young head coach to come in to Stillwater with that attitude that, this isn't about them. This is about us. This is about Tulsa. I know y'all are going to make it about them. This is about us. My guys came in here and did this. These kids are playing. I was really impressed with Trey Lamb.
Totally agree. He was awesome, and I don't think Oklahoma State should hire head coach by any means. I bring him up to say that it's not Zach Robinson or bust. It's not as if you don't get Zach Robinson, this thing's just going to go in the complete. I mean, it can't get much worse than it is right now. Let's say that, but like you kind of are Kansas post Mangino right now. That's the problem. That's the whole reason we're having these discussions. So I don't bring up Trey Lamb saying that's who they should hire. Go hire the best candidate you can that money will buy. That's what they should have been doing with coordinators for a very long time. They haven't been doing that. So that's the point. But we need to wrap up here soon. Appreciate everyone watching. If you have any more questions, Colby, we can get to those certainly. But I do want to wrap this up by saying, again, I don't take like the notion that like someone tweeted at me this morning that I don't like Mike Gundy personally. That could not be farther from the truth. I like Mike Gundy personally. We've had great dealings in person. I don't claim to know him that well, but I covered him for a very long time. I feel like I was very fair to him in my questions to him directly. I'm the one who asked him about turning 2 and 3, like the quote that's still used today, turning 2 and 3 star players into 4 and 5 stars was my question, saying, Mike, you've done an unbelievable job winning 10 games virtually every year, despite recruiting classes in the 30s and 40s. How do you do that? How are you able to overcome that? I have nothing but respect for who Mike Gundy is. He's a Hall of Famer. I've said that for a long time. I call things the way that I see them because if I was sitting there every week like your mom, paying the money to go to the games, I would want to know what's really going on, what's really happening. Why are they not winning? Why are they not getting a first down? Why is he punting? Those are all fair questions, and I've tried to ask fair questions and provide honest assessments as long as I've ever been in the media, as long as I was a student sitting there in the stands yelling at Larry Fedora for calling a bad play when I was a student before I was even in the media. So I take no pride or I take no enjoyment of what's become of Mike Gundy and his program. It makes me sad because Mike Gundy deserved more than one Big 12 championship. His resume, the things he built, the success he had, he probably should have 2 or 3 on the mantle, bounce here or there, when it comes, especially in some of those Bedlam games. So this is a sad moment for me. This is not a happy moment for me. I'm not a Mike Gundy hater. I wish he would go out with a national championship, much less a Big 12 championship. That's clearly not going to be the case. But it's time. It's been happening. It's been slipping. I've been called a Gundy hater for pointing out the slippage that's been going on within the program. But it's now there for everyone to see, including Mike himself. So I hope he does the right thing. And the right thing would be to announce this is your last year. Whether that's resigning on Monday, I don't know. Whether that's agreeing to a renegotiated buyout on Monday, I don't know if that's what he will be willing to do, but that's the right thing to do. And to try to say, okay, we're gonna, this is my last year. I'm gonna do everything I can to win every Saturday, and I'm gonna do everything I can to hand this thing off in the best possible shape. And it starts with the product we saw against Tulsa. That's what Mike Gundy can do to leave this thing the right way. It's not to run the fake QB zone reads with Zane Flores and butt your head against the wall and go up there in the post game and say we were 8 or 10 plays away. That ain't it. That's not how you go out. You go out by saying, I'm going to improve this. I'm going to do what I can and coach this team better, because we saw on Saturday was a disgrace to Oklahoma State football, is a disgrace to Mike Gundy and everything he's built. So that's my hope. Whether that happens, I don't know. If he wants to do what he did last spring and put this on Chad Weiberg to hold his feet to the fire and use his leverage, then so be it. But that's going to be sad to me. That's going to be even more sad than what I watched on Saturday. But those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, mine are somewhat similar. It's just the absolute best case scenario, like dream scenario, is that a year from now, there's a new head coach leading Oklahoma State on the field. It seems like, we're getting the new era started. Hopefully things are getting off to a decent start. And what makes it a best case scenario is if Mike Gundy has transitioned into some sort of Oklahoma State ambassador, where it's like, hey, I was the head coach for a long time, however he wants to word it. Game passed me by, I lost my fire, things just didn't go right, whatever. If Mike Gundy could somehow turn into an ambassador for the program, that's best case scenario. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go do TV and hang out with the GOATs and do stuff like that. And I think that there will be a cool down period post Mike Gundy's coaching career at Oklahoma State for both Mike and for the fans. And I think that most of that is Mike's fault. I think the way that he spoke about the fans last year, there are people in our comments right now saying, somebody comments right here, Pokes and Beeves, Gundy deserves no respect after calling fans broke losers. Like, those comments are still going to haunt Mike Gundy for a while. So I do think that there's going to be a cool down period. But, man, I just hope that Mike Gundy at some point becomes an ambassador for Oklahoma State, because just having him, whether it's ads, whether it's, out on the field leading the Orange Power chant, something where all of the great things about Mike Gundy, which are his charisma and, poor consumer cellular, they've got him on the commercial now in the worst season when his Q was the lowest it's ever been. Tough scene out there when the commercial plays. And it doesn't hit
the same right now, does it?
It does not hit the same right now. So I think that there are so many qualities about Mike Gundy that we saw younger in his coaching career at Oklahoma State that really did make him lovable. And I hope that in his post-coaching career at Oklahoma State, he can still be around and go back to being that lovable Mike Gundy. But I do think that there's going to need to be a cool-off period for Gundy and for the fans, because it's, Wet Blanket said it earlier in the comments, most divorces are messy, and this one doesn't look real clean right now. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look clean right now.
It got messy with Gary Patterson, but ultimately that was the best thing for TCU football. And regardless of what his son tweets on social media, Mike Gundy's not bigger than the program. He's been the program for nearly 40 years as a player and a coach. But make no mistake, he's not bigger than the program. And what we've seen tweeted by Gavin Gundy, and based on his actions tell me he thinks he is. And we're about to find out that he's not. And he's about to have to make that decision if he's not. If he thinks he is, it's going to get real ugly. It really will. And that's why Chad Weiberg's in the position he's in, to make tough calls. He made a tough call last spring to exert his leverage and force real change. And he's about to have to do it again if Mike Gundy doesn't do the right thing by the program and by his legacy. So we'll see. Only two guys in a room can make that call. And again, it's not the overlords hovering in Payne County, the board of regents are just in this dark tower making all the decisions about what happens with Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State football. It's going to be Chad Weiberg, and he's going to have to make real decisions. So again, I appreciate everyone listening and watching. I appreciate you, Colby, sticking with us through the technical issues. We'll be back at it to work on the 8 or 10 settings. It's 8 or 10 settings, Colby. Once we get those figured out, we'll be golden.
Concepts are fine. Got to get better at what we do. Concepts are fine.
That's right.
Don't worry. We'll
Gotta get better at them.
We'll get in the lab. We'll watch the film. We'll make some corrections ahead of next week. Last comment that I'll read. We appreciate everyone. There are way too many to get to, but we really do appreciate everyone. All of y'all hopping on here in the middle of the day on a Saturday. This is awesome. This is fantastic. So last one I'll read is from No Name Yet 44. It says, I bought an awesome sweatshirt at Chris's the other day solely because of the ad for this podcast.
Hey.
That's what I like to hear.
I got Swinging Pete on. You couldn't really see it in the stream, but hey, good job by you. Chris's University Spirit, Wolf Corporation, Brewster Consulting. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Appreciate all of you. Thanks again, Colby. We'll get back with you to preview an exciting matchup against Baylor.
Yeah, hopefully the product will be better next weekend. We can't thank you all enough for being here with us. And
I want to see let's see bowl game Gundy. Let's see bowl game Gundy, who just where our minds are blown and they throw caution to the wind. Let's see that against Baylor.
One thing that we need to discuss on the pregame show, a prediction that we're going to have to make next week. Will there or will there not be a passing touchdown? And we'll keep doing that before every game until Zane has a passing touchdown.
Man, that's dark.
It is.
I guess we're going to have to.
It's dark. Yep. All right. Thank you so much, everyone who joined us. Carson, good stuff, efforting behind the scenes to get this all to work. I know it was very tricky. So thanks, everyone. As always, go Pokes.
Okay, I ended the stream.